Hi, and welcome to Exploring Jeeps. Today's episode, what we're going to talk about is hood latches. Now, on your Wrangler, you may not ever see this, but when you're driving down the highway, these latches are rubber, and you can get some shake. Mine shakes almost as much as you see here, especially when a semi goes by. So you can buy aftermarket ones, but sometimes they're difficult to put on, and you can't get the pin to go in, and you spend a lot of money and you're not happy, and there's a lot of parts. So in this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to go through and talk through this. Now, you get all the parts. This is for Drake Offroad hood latches. Get all the parts you see here except for the tools. For the tools, what you're going to need is some, you might want some tape. Doesn't have to be electrical tape. Crescent wrench, box wrench, 13 millimeter, ratchet with a 10 millimeter and a 13 millimeter, and then also some Allen keys. So first, what you're going to find is it's a little bit difficult. So if you don't have a small ratchet, you're going to have some trouble. You have to get the right size. I have a deep well socket, and I think I got lucky here. So you just got to fit it on. There's a slight downward angle to the nut, and you just got to get it on there and try it out. I've seen where other people have to take the grill off to get to this particular nut. If you're looking at it from the front, the left side of the Jeep is a little bit harder because you can see in the back there's kind of a reservoir back there, and that kind of blocks access from underneath one of the braces there. You'll see on the other side it's a little bit simpler, and you can use more easily available tools. But once you get the nut off, you just kind of work it out with your fingers, and you can drop it. It might be faster unless it goes way under the Jeep, and then you got to move your Jeep to get the nut. But give it a try to pull it. Just pull it out. And then once you do that, it'll come off. There's a little bit of adhesive underneath the little rubber pad that comes down. So I had previously taken this off, and I put my own little piece of adhesive on there, and here I am just taking that off. I used a little bit of mineral spirits. Works very well on adhesive, like labeling adhesive. And then if you're going to use mineral spirits or acetone or anything on your car, always put a little wax back on there to make sure it doesn't rust. On the old one, pull that little rubber tab off gently so that you don't rip it, but you got to pull it off. Now the bottom of the latches, you have to take these apart before you put them on. There's a set screw with an Allen key in there. See it? There's two little bushings that are in there. So don't drop those, don't lose those. You're going to need those. And then the turnbuckle will come off, and that'll leave the bottom bracket kind of exposed so that you can put it on. Now there's two ways you could do this. You can have the cord facing the front or the cord facing the back, but there's a left and a right. You have to make sure that the little tab on the top of the bottom is pointing upwards. That'll you'll be able to put your little rubber piece you took off from before. Now behind each one of these is a little rubber pad that will help keep from scratching the Jeep, and then also it'll help to maybe stop a little bit of vibration. So then you can go ahead and put your set screw in here, and then you're going to fish the nut back through behind it. At some point you're going to probably have to, it's a little bit easier to keep the nut flush to the metal as you're putting it behind there. use the nuts that come on the car. Don't use the ones that are supplied, at least for this application here. If you back the bolt out a little bit, you can get it. You can fit it on there a little bit easier. And then once you get it started, it's pretty easy to use the Allen key, and just use the Allen key and tighten it up while you hold the bolt from the back. It'll just tighten up easily. Be careful how much tension you put on this. You definitely want this side to be tight. The kit comes with lock washers, but I don't know how you would get a lock washer on there effectively. So I just used the original bolts because they have the washer as part of it. And then I tightened this up pretty good. But what you'll find is that you don't want to torque it down too much. So go ahead and put on the little rubber kind of bumper there. It'll fit on there snug. And then on the other side, you can use a regular kind of 3/8 inch socket. It's still, I think it's 10 millimeter or 13 millimeter. It's 13 millimeter on these bottom ones, and it's 10 millimeter on the top. But this one's much easier to access. There's a lot more space to it. You still have to, keep your hand under there to get that nut off, but this side's much easier. I noticed on the guidelines from the company, they show taking this one off, and not the other one that's harder. But this process is the same way. You pull it off, keep the nut, and pull off the little rubber tab because you use it on the new hood latch. Try not to rip it. They're pretty tough, but you could end up ripping it. So then again, you put the little rubber pad on there, put your bolt through. And there's little pins along with the bolt, so there's only one way you can put these on. But again, remember, if you want to use if you want to install them with the wire facing forward, you have to have the matched set. There's a left and a right pair, depending on whether or not you want the cords going forward or the cords going backwards. On this one, I'm putting the cords going backward for a couple of reasons. I like the way it looks better with the cord going back, but also when you do it that way and you take the pin out, finally, once you get everything done, you can take the pin out. Okay, so I'll come back to that. Here we are putting this back together. You put those little bushings on there, and if you put the bolt in, the bolt will hold that bushing. And as you put the turnbuckle back in, what you'll find is it's pretty tight. Now, if you tighten down that set screw to hold this bottom bracket on real tight, it will actually bow the two side pieces a little bit and making it harder to get in there. It'll fit. Yeah, I don't. You might have to kind of pry it a little bit, but it'll go in relatively easily. I'm just taking my time here and trying to make it work perfectly, but you just have to kind of force it in. I did notice that either side, one side is, they're not exactly the same size, so I flipped it around, and one side was a little bit smaller and was easier to get in there. And then you want to tighten this down. Now you can tighten that down pretty tight. It's not going to affect anything with the bushings and the way this is made. It just there's no ill effect of tightening it down. So now the top, there's just two 10 millimeter bolts on there, nuts on there, and you'll just pull that piece off. Save those nuts. We're going to use those as well. And what you're going to find is that in the upper section, it's even more important not to over tighten. You have a rubber pad up there as well, and then if you look, you kind of the bulge where the pin goes is towards the top, not the other way around. So you got to make sure that goes in. There's two bolts that'll go through there. Just spin these, the factory supplied nuts on there along with the washers. And then again, you don't want to tighten these down too much, because if you tighten them down too much, you're going to bow that that bracket, and then the pin later on when you go to put it in is not going to fit smoothly, and it's going to be actually pretty difficult to use it. So here I am just tightening it up a little bit, not too tight. Now because of that, you don't want these bolts falling off. What I did is I used the supplied lock washers, or the lock nuts, Nylocks or whatever you call them, and I'm putting these on there and tightening it up to the other nut so that they won't come off. And I'm pretty sure this is an effective solution that most people wouldn't do. So you don't want them to fall off, so you need them tight. You need those nylon nuts, but you don't want to tighten the bottom nuts too tight so that the actual bracket isn't too tight. See, then this is me showing when you tighten it down too hard, what happens. And then this is the other side where I learned what I was doing. Now, you do have to adjust these. So the turnbuckle, the way a turnbuckle works, is you turn the center, and if you hold the sides, they'll both expand at the same rate. Then you don't have one side falling out. You definitely want a little bit of pressure so that you hold the hood down, but you don't want it to be too much to make it difficult to put the pin in. And then once you get the right height on it, take a look at a few things. Look at the gap in the hood. Make sure that's relatively consistent. You don't want to real tight up at the front or real loose. You want to take all the bounce out of it. And then what I'm doing here is just lining it up and then putting these other little nuts to lock the turnbuckle into that place. So I'm using a large crescent wrench, not a large one, but crescent wrench, and then a 13 millimeter box wrench, open-ended wrench here, and I'm just tightening those two together. And then what I'll do is come back in and do the same thing for that bottom nut. And then what that'll do is lock down the turnbuckle so it won't, you don't ever have to adjust it again. You can if you need to, but you shouldn't have to. So there's pressure. You can see it pop when you pull it out, but it's not too hard to put in. Here I'm having a little bit of difficulty because I have tools in my hand. But it's really not that bad. It's actually no more difficult probably than the original hood latches that came with the Jeep. And I do like the way the pin will lay towards the back of the Jeep and on the fender there, rather than going down in front by the light. You can put it crossways too. Maybe if you're going through brush or something and you're worried about a branch pulling it out, you may want to put it from the front, in from the front. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it like that, just like the way it looks. It's cleaner. Hopefully this helps you install your Drake hood latches. I definitely enjoy mine. I do like the way they drive. I haven't had any bounce afterwards, and I think they look good on the Jeep. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this.